All right. Well, welcome back. Got another deck profile for everyone today. It is another new game because, as you know at this point, or should know, that if it's a card game, I'd probably play it and probably have a deck profile for it somewhere. This game is the Chrono Clash system by Bandai. They've had a couple of expansions. The Evangelion, or the Genesis Evangelion set is the third release. First was Naruto, then Godzilla, then Evangelion. This is a deck profile for specifically the third set, the Evangelion set, and this is a mono blue deck. Most of the time in Chrono Clash, decks are played as two color. It's very rare that you actually do see a single color Chrono Clash deck, but Evangelion does have enough support, at least for blue, or enough good blue cards that you couldn't get away with a mono blue deck. And I thought I might as well try mono, just to be a little unique, try something new. And it turns out it's actually been a pretty effective build. I'm quite happy with how it's worked. Obviously it doesn't have some of the versatility that a multicolored deck may have, but it definitely gets the job done in a lot of ways. Blue is a very good color with drawing, gets me into my EX deck very quickly, and accomplishes what I need to with that. So I don't want this video to be super long here, so I'm going to go into it as quick as I can. As anyone who's seen Evangelion should know, Rei is obviously best girl, so we cannot have a deck of Evangelion without Rei cards in it. So this is, and blue has a lot of Rei colors, so it all just works out perfectly. So first off, we've just got a Rei Ayanami for 2. She's only got a strength of 1, but she's a pilot for 1 and gives your cards protector, so they can't be targeted by other effects. She just sort of keeps your cards safe. She's a nice cheap option and helps trigger some of the later cards. We also have You Won't Die, I Will Protect You. This is a 2-cost card with Sentinel, strength of 1. When it's destroyed, you get an EX card. This is a decent card in that it is a very cheap blocker. You can play, you know, for very little time, just protect yourself right out of the gate. But just like Rei Ayanami, the pilot, this card also works very, very well for one of the extra cards that we will play later to really abuse some of the cycling that the deck can do. We've got Evangelion prototype is 0. This has Sentinel, and this one though cannot attack. So you really, its turn is you just, when it comes down, you have to tap it once if you want it to be a blocker. Otherwise, you can just tap it to give yourself a time. So as long as it's tapped, it has Sentinel, and your Guardians can't be attacked. But anytime you tap it, you give yourself an extra time. So it just helps you extend your turns a little bit. And it's a reveal effect from your Guardian stack is pretty good too, in that your opponents, you choose a battle card and it can't attack. That really helps shorten turns. So it sort of works on both ends of the spectrum there. Tentative name, Rei Ayanami. Another pilot Rei. She costs 3, but can be attached as a pilot for 1. She just gives one of your battle cards +2. Which is awesome. Or when she attacks, sorry, she gains +2. So she'll essentially just be 3 on top of whatever Eva she's piloting. One of her best effects though is that if she slipped up, you just draw an extra card. One thing that this deck does really, really well, and blue does really well in general within the Evangelion set, is the blue cards draw a lot. So there's a lot of times where I'll have 6, 7, 8 cards in hand real late in the game even, and that feels really good. This card, Asuka Langley, is fantastic. You can play her for 2. When you attack, you lose a time, but one of you can choose a battle card, and it gets to use its when played effect. So, there's just a ton of effects that can trigger: drawing cards, destroying cards, getting you advantage in all kinds of ways. So she's fantastic as far as that's concerned, and she taps a battler when she's revealed. So just like the other card, she just shortens your opponent's turns while triggering fantastic skills again out of your own stack. Getting up into the 4 costs, we get into some of the Evas. Eva Model 2, again, is a Sentinel. When it's destroyed, you get 2 time. When it's revealed, you get 2 time. So sticking with that theme that blue has within this set of just extending turns, getting you better position within your own turn. 2 time can be the difference between your opponent getting another attack and not attacking again that turn. So this is a I'm very, very happy with this card. Asuka Langley for 4, Pilot for 3. When you play her, your battler gets an extra Guardian Strike. So just a fantastic effect. You set her down on heck, this one. This card becomes a 6 power, hits for 2, and then is a Sentinel once it's tapped. She just really works really well with the deck. And then with the previous Asuka, you can, if this card is out, on the board, you could use her effect when she attacks to choose this effect and give another card another trigger. So it just compounds really nicely. Prototype 0, Protector by default. When it attacks, all of your cards get withdraw. So if they were to lose in battle, you just get them back in your hand. Helps you just make sure that you constantly keep your hand count high, keep your options open to you, and starting to get a little bit stronger too. You get into the 5 strength and things like that. This deck works really well, and the blue has a lot of cheap cards at the front end of its curve that allow it to sort of function really well with low memory, and those cards themselves net you more memory, which then let you play your bigger stuff more effectively later. This card, when you play it, you just immediately draw a card. Guardian 2, Strength 5, just a good attacker. And then if you can put Asuka on it, give it another attack. It can be a +2, and for 8, it could be very strong very quickly. Oh, headbanger. Prototype 00. Attack +1, withdraw, so even if it loses, you just get it back and you do it again later. When it attacks, it gets +1 strength, so it's a 6/7. Overstated, double strike, and you get it back if it dies. Just a fantastic card. And again, with the other cards that we've talked about before that I just keep repeating, you can make it a 10 strength with Asuka. It hits for 3. It's very, very good. 9th Angel, Ava 3. This card is fantastic. When it's destroyed, you draw a card and you get an EX card. It has security attack +1, or sorry, Digimon lingo there for the new version of this game. Guardian +1, Protector, and it has Taunt. So while this card's tapped, your opponent's cards can't attack anything except this. Or, well, sorry, cards without Taunt. So if you can have this card out, tapped, and a card with Sentinel, they have to kill this card before they can kill Sentinel. They have to kill Sentinel before they can kill your stack. You can really net yourself a lot of protection really easily that way. 6th Angel, fantastic card. It has Taunt as well. When it attacks, all Guardians are tapped. That effect triggers before you choose your target. So you just declare that you're going to attack with this card. All other cards tap, and you then get to decide which of your opponent's cards you want to swing into. Or if you don't want to, you can go right at their life. But this card really helps with board control. You essentially just get to choose whatever card you want of theirs, and it's going to die this turn. It's got a strength of 8. It defeats most things. And fantastic card, especially for 6. 8th Angel, 6, base power of 5. If it's destroyed, all battlers are tapped, so it just ends a turn right then and there on either end of the board, really. But it has Taunt. It also gets +5 when it attacks, becomes a 10 for 6. Another very good card. The Angels in blue are very powerful. Really are powerful in every color, but blue especially, I like them. 10th Angel has +1 and Taunt. Just as you can see a theme with the blue Angels, all of them have Taunt. And they are typically at least statted up for more than what they get or what they do. But sorry, they have higher strength than their cost. They're overstated. This guy's a little bit understated, but if he's destroyed, he gets an additional 2 times. So your turns just extend. If he swings into something that destroys him, you just get more to do with your turn. Ava Progressive Knife, fantastic card. When it attacks, it gets +3. It becomes an 11. For 7, hits for 2, and has Protector. Just an incredible card. Put Asuka on it, it becomes a 14, and very hard to get over the top of this, even for EX cards. Then we get into the blue extra cards in the deck. We get into what is probably one of the best cards in the game. What do you think of the Idiot? costs 1. It gives you 5 time when you play it. You choose one of your battlers and you destroy it. So, obviously, as far as Chrono Clash rules are concerned, you do have to be able to do the full effect to be able to use the cards. So you do have to destroy one of your cards, but that's a very positive thing in a lot of ways. We'll get into that in just a second, but if it's revealed too, it does give you +2 time. As you can tell, more of just the theme of gaining yourself some time. +5. I'm going to leave this card set aside, because we're going to get back to that and why this deck is so efficient in just a second. Thank you, a chosen battler is tapped, and you draw an EX card for 2. This card goes in your hand if it's revealed, so you're going to get an EX card out of this card one way or another. Really helps you get into digging through that deck and extending those turns. Don't you think it's too revealing? This card is a little expensive. Don't get me wrong. 5 costs to just draw cards is a little high in a game where as soon as you pay a cost, your turn typically ends. So this you don't want to use too often, but there are definitely times where you've done, what I think the idiot, +5 time, spend the 5 times here, just whatever time you started to begin with, draw 3 more cards, and you've really got some great options that way. Worst case scenario, this is revealed and you just draw a card. So that's the main deck itself. With this, with what I was talking about with what do you think of the idiot, you can run into some really great combos with stuff earlier up in the deck. Specifically, up here, this card is your bread and butter. As you've seen, you'll see me refer. There's a video on this channel actually of me playing this deck against Buzz Saiyan, another YouTuber here, and he sort of showed me this maneuver first, so we call it the Buzz maneuver as a joke. But you play this card out for 2. It is a Guardian. Doesn't really matter because all you're going to do is pay 1 to play what do you think of the idiot. Destroy this card. When it's destroyed, you get an EX card, you get 5 time. So then you're just way ahead of the time you had before. You have a new EX card in hand, and after that you've pretty much got run of the mill with what you want to do with the rest of your turn. So that then gets us into the EX deck itself. And Blue has some really good EX cards. I like that they've got a lot of very cheap ones that you can play. You can play this right on top of the, from the very beginning, your Ray. You can just play this right on top of that. We'll sack this, to play this. You can sack the Ray, the You Won't Die, to play this card and then draw another EX card for next turn. There's so much you can do with it. When you play it, you tap a card. You have to be careful with this because sometimes it will end up tapping this card itself, but that's up to, you can certainly plan around this. You can use it to trigger one of your own Sentinel effects, all kinds of things. But a 2 costs with 3. It has haste, it swings right when you play it, and withdraw, so it goes back in your hand if it dies, which it will probably die because it's a 3, but it's great because it's a 2 cost, so you just play it over and over and over again. Fantastic EX card. Type S components, 2 cost, strength of 4. Can attack the turn you play it, and it has +1, so it's going to hit for 2, assuming it doesn't get bounced. But when it swings, you do have to discard a card. So this is not your best option, but it can be the difference between 1 and 2 damage or the game. So this is it's nice that it's here, but it's not what you prefer to see. Production model 2 beta. You've got, again, attacks turn it's played +1. When it's destroyed, you get an EX card, so it just replaces itself. This one dies, you just get another one. Continue the chain of effects there. Prototype 0. This one can't attack battlers, but you don't really want it to. When it attacks, you just draw a card. This card just nets you card advantage every single turn that it stays alive. And then, with the way the deck works, you just have a Sentinel out or a Taunt card out, and that card has to be attacked before they can attack this. There's a lot of ways to protect this card and keep it on the board. 9th Angel, Ava 3, and a huge part of why this deck is even any good. 5 cost, 7 strength. It can attack the turn it's played. That being said, though, it can't actually attack. So it does have Sentinel, so you can tap at the turn its blade to make it a Sentinel. Or you can use its tap effect, which you lose a time, but then a chosen battle card, you use a chosen when played effect. So this just allows so many things, so much control, so much recursion, so many other options. There's so much that you can benefit from by playing and allowing yourself to use this card again. I absolutely love this card. And Seele is another sort of just EX version of What Do You Think of the Idiot? You just net 5 time, draw a card, draw an EX card. There's a lot of times where I'll play a What Do You Think of the Idiot, draw an EX card. This is the EX card I play. I set this down on top of a card I've already played, get myself 5 more time. Sometimes the card that I'll destroy with it, you know, one of them will be You Won't Die, so I'll net another EX card. You can really extend the turns. There have been plenty of turns where I went from 1 time to 10 and then just been able to do a dozen things that turn. So I don't think that a mono deck by default in the Chrono Clash game is really what you would want to do in most cases, but blue, specifically within the Evangelion set, I think actually works really well for just with what it does, what blue is as a color within this game, extending turns, preventing your opponent from doing things on their turn by shortening their turns, removing their cards. It doesn't have quite the removal that like purple or things like that have, as those are just the removal colors, but it really gives you the draw engine that, and that's the thing, you know, blue is normally put into decks to accelerate drawing, to do whatever else you want to do with your deck. So if you play blue-purple, you're playing a destruction deck and using blue cards to draw more cards. In this case, I'm using mono-blue to draw cards, to just continue to draw cards, to constantly just see cards in my hand. One of the big sort of standout things about Chrono Clash is that you will often, you know, you'll draw your initial 5, and from there you have 2, 3, maybe 4 turns to see more cards, and normally that's, you know, 1 additional card at a time. So you might see 9, 10, maybe 11 cards out of your deck. With this deck, you draw so consistently, you see so many options, you see so many things you can do in a turn, because so much of the deck is 2 and 3 cost cards. You have just the action economy that this deck can generate is massive, and outpaces a lot of other decks. A lot of decks I've played against quite dramatically. That being said, it's not perfect. It does suffer from the fact that that's all it's doing. It isn't, you know, pushing that objective towards another goal. It's not pushing towards, you know, the aggro red stuff that you're just trying to draw more aggro red cards or destruction cards in purple, etc. But the cards themselves work well enough together. You have enough actions quickly enough, and enough things to do each turn that you kind of level that playing field a little bit. I've seen decent success with the deck. It's very playable, it's very fun, and not many people have seen a monocolor deck within this game, so it's cool to see. It's cool even just to sit down and play against, when you're just like, oh, what other color are you playing? And it's like, there isn't one, it's just blue. It always catches people off guard. And it's just different enough that it squeaks games out on its own merit that way too. But either way, you guys, thank you for watching. We'll be back with plenty of other games and decks and profiles and box openings and reviews and all kinds of things in the future here. Thanks for sticking around and looking at old cards with me all the time. It's what I do, so until next time.